text messages, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for joining us once again. It's Monday evening, January 21st, 2019. We're broadcasting out of Elk River, Minnesota. And we're deciding to change gears a little bit here, ladies and gentlemen, because originally what we did was our focus was about an hour-long talk show. Ideally, the thought was you download an MP3 and then you go around with headphones on and walk around town and listen to it for an hour. You go outside, do some yard work for an hour and listen to it. So felt like an hour long was pretty good for that. But however, our primary viewerships were looking for something that was a little less elongated than that. Something on the order of 20 minutes. But now we're starting to see that it's actually closer to 10 minutes that they're looking for and desiring. So what we're going to go ahead and attempt to do here is we'll run segments. For example, if you listen to a talk show on the radio or something like that, they'll have generally 10 to 15 minute segments, and then they'll have commercials for 5 minutes. Now since I've basically how the sponsorship works here is I go to a physical location and I satisfy sponsorship obligations for 8 hours a day, and then I come home and then do the talk show, and then the producers help out. So it's pretty straightforward. So we don't have commercials that are actually airing on the Radeon or the YouTube channel, which is what it makes our show a lot less agile, gives us a lot more freedom of what we want to do and everything of that nature. So we're just going to go ahead and attempt to do these 10-minute segments here. So I don't know what to call it, part one or first reincarnation, second reincarnation or something like that. So it'll be organized where it'll be the TMR, text messages, resurrection, and then the date, of course, which today would be January 21st, 2019. And then it'd be, the first incantation number 2 or anything like that. And then, of course, we'll try to highlight what topics we mostly tackle inside that part of the show. So hopefully, I'm actually a little bit nervous about it. Not really sure how to work out, because generally with shorter segments like that, you need to try to pack in a lot of quality material in a short amount of time. Doesn't leave you a lot of leeway for BS or messing around, because doing an hour-long talk show, it wasn't very easy. Now, yeah, it had the 5-minute segment breaks here and there, but for the most part, you'd have a few topics to focus on and then just kind of run with it and let your words wander. But with these 10-minute segments, we're going to try to stay focused on just specific topics, and we can very easily highlight them. Because, even going back to the old videos and trying to watch them and seeing, like, for example, how to destroy a dirt racing track, and then clicking on the video, there's maybe 2 minutes out of the hour-long video that actually speaks to that topic. So, not really sure even what was discussed in a lot of those videos. It's just mostly filler, but as far as what that filler is, it's really hard to explain, ladies and gentlemen. So that being said, what we're going to talk about today is mostly bacteria. Now, you've probably heard about gut bacteria and prebiotics, probiotics. Prebiotics are actually what feed the probiotics. The probiotics are the gut bacteria. Now, you have a lot of people take antibiotics for whatever weird infections, or just randomly prescribe them to them like doctors and hospitals do. So what happens when you take a lot of antibiotics is, you most probably get diarrhea, vomiting, feel really sick and everything. And yeah, it may or may not cure the ailment. Hopefully it does, but can't always guarantee that it will. So a lot of times it's a good idea to take probiotics with that to supplement the bacteria growth in your intestinal, in your colon and wherever else the probiotics like to hang out. And usually fermented food is very good for probiotics. Kefir, yogurt, pickles, things of that nature. Sauerkraut is another great one. But what we're going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is how a study done at the Argonne National Laboratory found that bacteria actually form gangs with each other to defend their turf by forming social networks that release toxins to neutralize enemies. See, what they found is that the bacteria can communicate with certain other bacteria with similar form through the release of toxic proteins. Now, what they saw, they obtained a molecular protein structure from E. coli and had a 3-part system that had the contact growth dependent inhibition, the elongation factor, and the immunity protein. The immunity protein only had a few molecules that could get into the neighboring cell, so it's not meant to kill, but possibly to control or communicate. So underneath the microscope, though, when they're looking at the E. coli bacteria, they're able to see that out of these three functions that it had, one of them appeared to be some type of communication mechanism. Like, for example, if a human walks around with a camera, clearly a camera isn't going to be used to club somebody over the head or to result in deceasing somebody or incapacitating them. It's usually just for people to walk around and dick around and film videos of them taking their bikes off of sweet jumps, or maybe walking into some Night of the Living Dead political rally, or just something like that the people usually walk around with a camera with. So the research team here, I mean, that's what a lot of this research is, ladies and gentlemen. Scientists in a lab will be looking at things through a microscope and just trying to interpret it as best as we can. It's mostly hypothetical or theoretical, whatever you can say, but by and large, a lot of it does seem to make sense. So when you extrapolate that to bacteria and how the bacteria works in your gut, if you feed the good bacteria, it'll not only be able to be stronger and be more resistant to bad bacteria, that, viruses or pathogens and other things of that nature, it'll also make you feel better about yourself because it'll feed the good part of your systems and it won't let any of the bad things take over. Sort of like if you're in a prison and say 5 of the inmates are going around killing people and hitting them over the head with billy clubs and things like that. If you were to give them 5 prisoners all meals for the day and the weeks and everything and not feed the other prisoners, eventually those 5 prisoners may just incapacitate and kill off the rest of them, and then they'll be the only ones left. So that's sort of how your gut bacteria works, because you want to feed the good bacteria so they can take over and rule your body, because that's who you want to rule your body. Now, yeah, there's always going to be the introduction of various foreign invaders as well. Viruses, pathogens, other bacteria that's not so good for you. And which is why, we went through, it's also important to avoid things like antibacterial soap. And because the triclosan in there, for example, just kills on contact, and if it kills 99% of the bacteria, if it gets into your system, or even if it gets onto your skin or whatever, it can absorb into your skin and start wreaking havoc. So, I mean, yeah, it's good to kill the bad too, but you want to feed the good as well. I mean, going back to the prisoner analogy, if you were to just spray Zyklon B on all the prisoners and they all died, then you wouldn't have a prison and you'd probably be in huge trouble. So it's not so much just feeding the bad, or it's not so much just avoiding feeding the bad or just killing them all off. It's just feeding the good and then hoping the good does what it's meant to do. And that's one of the pillars to good health, ladies and gentlemen. Because when you eat food, generally if you got any weird symptoms, vomiting, projectile diarrhea, acid reflux, things of that nature, it's usually due to something that you ate that your body didn't quite agree with, that your gut bacteria isn't happy with. Now, as far as probiotics and whether they work or not, I can't really definitively say whether they do. As much as I want to say they do, because that is just about the only supplement that I personally take, and it's only because I have a physically, surgically repaired intestinal system, missing appendix, 75 centimeters small intestine. So I figured it is a very weak link within this incarnation, which is why it's important to try to strengthen it a little bit. But as far as probiotics in a pill, I can't really definitively say whether they've achieved their objective or not. I mean, it seems like, yeah, I use them off and on, and I don't really notice too much of a difference. I mean, right now, some company that I ordered it from, Golden Health Probiotics, they went out of business, so they had a really good deal, so I bought a bunch. So, I mean, I still probably have like a 1 month supply left, but for the most part, it's apparently it's better just to eat pickles, sauerkraut, hemp tofu. There was about a 3 or 4 day span where I ate hemp tofu, and for some reason I felt pretty healthy during that time, so that might be something to look back into. Maybe just hemp in general, but the tofu is more a fermented hemp. And now that hemp is going to be legalized, I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities to consume hemp, which will definitely be a great thing for everybody. Not just like smoking weed and all this other stuff, just consuming the actual plant, hemp. And yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. It's one of the rare times where something occurs in government that is actually exciting, but all it's doing is bringing power back to the individual. So it's power that they took away in the first place. That's, the government give it, the government take it, is sort of how that works, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we've reached the end of the first incantation. Now, technically, incantation isn't really an accurate definition of what the segments of these shows are, but it's just fun to say. So I'll probably just continue to call it that. With that being said, we'll be back with the second version of this show in a little bit. So thank you very much.